Welcome everyone to 2025. And there are some anniversaries this year that might get overlooked. First is the 40th anniversary of California's only remaining nuclear power plant at Diablo Canyon near San Luis Obispo, which was going to close this year, but Governor Gavin Newsom signed legislation to give it another 5 years, I guess because of all those Tesla owners. And then it's the 80th anniversary of the atomic bomb. This is a little boy exploding over Hiroshima on August 6th, 1945. And that was followed up 3 days later by Fat Man over Nagasaki and preceded by the Trinity test in New Mexico on July 16th. And it's the 127th anniversary of Marie and Pierre Curie isolating uranium from uranium ore, which they did in 1898. They gave it its name, radium, and also coined the word radioactivity, which brings us to today's topic, relaxing with radium. This program shows postcards from around the world where people with ailments would go to be treated with the miraculous cure-all of radiation from radium and radon, which is the gas given off as radium decays. Radiation was advertised as new, potent, scientific, and the promise of better health by just bathing and breathing was irresistible. And here's a good example of that. This is the Free Enterprise Health Mine, you can see near Boulder, Montana, where people come from all over the world to find relief from arthritic and rheumatic pains and other ailments. Now, the story goes that this was first a silver and iron ore mine, and in 1949, radioactivity was detected, and the owners had planned on changing it to a uranium mine. But a prospective investor noticed that her bursitis disappeared after several visits underground. People with painful conditions started arriving, and the operators changed from mining into the health destination that it is today. That's right, today. Here are some people breathing in radon years ago when the mine first opened. It's very relaxing, don't you think? Look, there's a couple of plants. And here's what it's like today. It's still in business. And if you're interested, there's the website. Now, just about every card you see will be from springs, spas, and bathhouses that aren't actually radioactive. There's certainly some placebo value to relaxing or bathing. So if you're doing that, you're probably going to feel better. But for the most part, the part about being radioactive was just good promotion. And here's a good example of that. From my hometown, the Radium Sulfur Springs in Los Angeles, California. This is actually located in Hollywood. And I was going to mention from my hometown that it's also the home of the current World Series champion Dodgers, but the conflagration that's going on down there seems to be more important. It appears Los Angeles may be burning to the ground. And the back of this card is very indicative of some of the promises made by these places. You can see to either side of the sun, it says, bathe in liquid sunshine and drink liquid sunshine. Natural radioactive mineral water, it sparkles and foams like champagne. The hot baths and treatments cure rheumatism, sciatica, neuritis, paralysis, locomotive ataxia, poor circulation, heart, stomach, liver, kidney, diabetes, Bright's, blood, and nervous diseases, female troubles, doctor's advice free, water delivered. And the story behind this place, which you'll hear a few other times, is they were drilling for oil and they hit water instead. Water that had a very high sulfur content, probably other minerals. It stank. So they figured it must be healthy, but it's not radioactive. Here's, oh yeah, so that place opened in the 1920s. And then it closed, and then in the 1950s, it reopened but now it's just California Mineral Springs. I'm just showing this ad because I just thought it was pretty wild looking. This is a business card for another or two more radium baths in the Los Angeles area, one in Hollywood and one in Pasadena. Here are some of the diseases it supposedly cures. And on the back side, it once again gives a very long description of all the wonderfulness. A prepared chemical containing 1 microgram of radium in combination is introduced into an ordinary hot bath. Within a few minutes, an electroscopic test shows that the water is supercharged with intense radioactive energy, emanations from radium. These emanations penetrate the entire physical body and stimulate every life cell into vital activity, thereby eliminating all poisonous, morbid, or lifeless matter from the system. If you watch videos on YouTube, a lot of time you'll see commercials for things that seem to sound just like this. And once again, look at this list: rheumatism, lumbago, gout, neuritis, all forms of nervousness, insomnia, diabetes, Bright's disease, high blood pressure, eczema, skin distress, women's ailments, liver troubles, low vitality, and other diseases. Now we'll move to the other side of the country, the Glen Springs in New York, Glen Springs, New York. And the American Neuheim was a bathhouse in Germany, in the German town of Bad Neuheim. And what it refers to specifically is a spa bath through which carbon dioxide bubbles to the surface. So there really is no radiation, although they like to call it radioactive brine. And here's a postcard of that place, but it doesn't mention radiation on it. The Claremore, Oklahoma. Here's the Claremore Radium Wells Company's bathhouse. The sign on top says you save $5 to $20 when you bathe and take treatment here. Physicians furnished free. And the shields on the post, some of them say radium water baths 50 cents, Turkish baths $1. And of course, I love the description: no piped or stale water at Purdue's bathhouse. You get the water fresh from the well. We advertise for diseases everyone else fails on. Here's another bathhouse in Claremore, Mendenhall's. Here's a token that you would use. How do you get into a bathhouse? You somehow have to pay for it. So this way, you could purchase this token here at the Bungalow Hotel and then take it to the bathhouse. Here's a bathhouse that just called itself the Radium. And I like this: courteous, competent attendants to serve you. And in the upper left-hand corner, it mentions that Claremore, Oklahoma was the birthplace of Will Rogers. So of course, Will Rogers got into it with the Will Rogers Hotel offering radium water baths. Will Rogers also started mentioning his hometown of Claremore and its radium baths in his radio programs and newspaper articles. So it became more popular. Here's what the actual baths look like at the Will Rogers Hotel. As it says at the bottom, 3 million people can't be wrong. Now we'll move on to Hot Springs, Arkansas. I can't say if this woman is actually taking a bath in radioactive water. People at the New Imperial Bathhouse are certainly paying to take baths in radioactive water. And this is great because the hot water is cooled without exposure to the air. So all the radon is saved. Here's an ad for the Arlington Hotel in Hot Springs, which mentions the radioactive thermal baths. This ad is from 1958. And here's what the hotel looked like. Once again, this is a postcard. It doesn't mention radiation. And here's one of my favorite postcards from this area. If you don't have the time to take a bath, well, you can just go to the radioactive hot water fountain in Hot Springs. Now I have 2 cards from Huntsville, Montana. I couldn't find any information about Missouri, Huntsville, Missouri, um, but except that the population was about 1,500 in the 2020 census. This just says greetings from Huntsville, and there's Radium Springs. Here's another postcard from it, Radium Springs in Huntsville. I do like the strange perspective of the gazebo compared to that building in the background. This is the casino at Radium Springs in Albany, Georgia, which calls itself the largest natural spring in Georgia and known as one of the 7 natural wonders of Georgia. I have no idea what the other 6 are. Prior to the purported discovery of radium in the water in 1925, it was just called Blue Springs. Here's the Radium Springs Inn, as you can see, for the discriminating traveler and vacationer. And this is a bird's eye view of Radium Springs, New Mexico. And according to a brochure from this resort, the history of Radium Springs, the hottest, strongest natural radium springs in the world, dates back to the time when Indian tribes made pilgrimages here. The springs became a sacred place, and no horseman was allowed to ride within a mile of the steaming waters. I don't know if they're making a pun about steam or not. Even Geronimo, the famous Apache chief, used to make his camp nearby so he and his warriors could bathe in the revitalizing waters. But this resort is closed. And now on to Ouray, Colorado. I like this place, sweet skin and vapor cave baths at the radioactive hot springs, nature's health resort. And this is a municipal pool in Ouray, Colorado. So all of the locals could also swim in radioactive water. As you can see, it was volunteer labor and contributions. Now we move a little bit to the northeast, and here's Juanita Hot's Radium Springs in Gunnison County, Colorado. And another similar story, a doctor discovers radium in the water and calls it Radium Hot Springs. And this building still is there, but it's now operated as a dude ranch. And you can just take a nice walk along this creek in Juanita Radium Hot Springs. Now we go about 170 miles north and west of Denver is Idaho Springs, Colorado. This is just an overview of the entire town. That's what it says at the bottom is westward toward Mount Evans, overlooking Radium Baths and Chicago Clear and Soda Creeks. Here's a view of the Radium Hot Springs Hotel. It's so big, you couldn't get it all on one card. So here's one side of it. And here's the other side of it. This is now known as Indian Hot Springs, a slight change in the name. And they advertised that they had caves for men and women, each with sunken walk-in hot tubs filled with naturally hot mineral water at temperatures from 104 to 112 degrees. Now, this place is still in business too. They don't mention radioactivity, but they do mention that bathing suits are optional because the caves are gender specific. And here you can stay nearby at the Sleepy U Motel. I just like this card, so I included it. Now, next could be the largest radium-related complex with certainly the most postcards. Radium Hot Springs in British Columbia. This is an accordion folder. Here's a sign leading to the Radium Hot Springs Aqua Court, which is a Canadian federal heritage building, which is within Kootenay National Park. And this water apparently does actually contain a small amount of radium. I mean, this is, this is government owned and controlled, so they have to tell the truth. And here's an aerial view of the pools and some of the lodgings in the background. This particular complex opened in 1951, replacing the facility that burned down in 1947. And it's known for its modernist design, which we now think of as mid-century modern. Lots of horizontal lines, flat roofs, smooth exterior walls, and lots of glass. Here it is during the day. Here is a rather eerie look at night. And here it is in the snow and people in the water because it's hot. This is a business card for Anderson's Bungalow that's in the area. And you can look up Radium Hot Springs in British Columbia, and there's lots of information about going there and staying at a facility. And the backside of this business card shows has a map that kind of shows you where Radium Hot Springs is in relation to Banff and Calgary and Spokane. And here are just postcards of some of the lodgings that have existed there over the years. And they don't have any problems referring to themselves as Radium Hot Springs. Here's an early view. I guess this is a previous building that burned down. Oliver's Gateway Lodge in Radium Hot Springs in British Columbia. It's a government swimming pool, radioactive waters, 100 to 115 degrees. Once again, I like this this card, so I'm including it. It's got the Volkswagen. That's a Renault Dauphine to the right of the Volkswagen, and a 57 Chevy wagon. Now we'll move a little bit farther south to Radium Hot Springs in Haines, Oregon. Once again, all I know is this description on the back of the card. One of Oregon's largest natural warm pools. And once again, the population of Haines was a little over 400 in the last census. And now down in Mexico, and see if I can remember to pronounce this correctly. It's the Hotel Tenenul in Ciudad Valles, and which calls itself the most marvelous and complete thermosulfur and radioactive spring in the world, air conditioned, and it's still open. It seems like a very nice resort. And here's another resort in Mexico, Michoacan, San Jose Puria, which was called Mexico's most luxurious spa hotel when it opened in the early 1940s. And a 1944 guidebook said this about it: there are 2 large swimming pools with warm radioactive water gushing into them all the time directly from the cliff. It oxidizes in the open air within a few minutes and turns to an odd cafe au lait color so that the pool is always brown. However, it is no way less clean than any spring fresh from the earth, and the curative properties are said to be extremely potent. This establishment is also still open and still has the cafe au lait water. Here's some more water. This is in Buxton, St. Anne's Well in Buxton, which is in Derbyshire, England. And the card shows attendants scooping up glassfuls for visitors, and those who can't visit can order the water to be delivered to them, as it's still bottled and sold internationally by the Buxton National Mineral Water Company, which is now owned by Nestle. This is a radium bath in Krosnock, Germany, and similar story. In 1904, a pharmacist discovers that the water has radon in it, and then he introduces radon balinology, which is a fancy word that just means treating diseases by bathing in water that's mineral rich. The town was billed as a radium healing spa and inhalatorium. It was damaged during World War II, but reopened in 1974. And here's an old ad for it. It's in Germany, so they are concerned with gout. And here's a couple of views. Now, let me see if how good my Czech is. Západočech Lázna, Czechoslovakia, now the Czech Republic. Interestingly, I found very little information on this in English, except to say that it's located in an area famous for its over 500 spas. And you can see the building in the lower right-hand corner. Here's a postcard of that. It's the Radium Palace Hotel. Trepka in northern Kosovo, the Atomic Spa. Of course, there was this communist for a long time, but it's now capitalist, privatized in 2008, and a new hotel was built in 2012. And what it says in Czech is greetings from the Atomic Spa. And here's another view of it. And this is what it looks like today. And this is what the bathhouse looks like. And that attendant really should divert his eyes. This shows the town of Icaria, which is a Greek island in the Aegean Sea. Its listing in Wikipedia doesn't mention radioactive thermal springs, but apparently they had them. But the listing does note that Icaria is considered one of the world's 5 blue zones, which means the population regularly lives to an advanced age. 1 in 3 make it into their 90s. I don't know what all those people are doing down there by the boat, but that seems to be where the population is gathered. This is St. Angelo d'Ischia. This is an island off of Naples. What it says on the back is ancient radioactive thermal, which is thermal baths of Cave Skura. Once again, not much information about this place, but I just know from my own personal travels in Europe, this place would have the best food. Now, this card from Japan is questionable. I can't say for sure that this shows the radium bath that does exist in Kobe, Japan. There is a Japanese member of the San Francisco Club, and at the last meeting I was going to ask him, but he didn't attend. But the Wikipedia listing does show Japanese figures for 2 types of springs. And the figures on this card kind of look like they signify the gold spring, which has water that is radioactive. Oh, no, excuse me. The silver spring contains the radium. That's what this is. Gold spring is just brown water from iron and salt. So these figures more closely resemble those for silver spring, which is a colorless water and contains radium. That's good enough for me. If this place isn't radioactive, then there's one down the street that is. This card was sold to me as being from South Africa, although it doesn't say South Africa anywhere on the card. So how do you know that there's a South African radioactive swimming pool? Well, because I found this folder from the Montague Baths, Radioactive Hot Springs and Sanatorium. Oh, and this is in South Africa. And here's just images from the resort. And on the bath, it mentions that it is the Gastine of South Africa. Gastine, Bad Gastine, Gastine Baths, is a town in the Austrian state of Salzburg, which calls itself the largest pain management center in the world, which I always thought was Las Vegas, with over 75,000 visitors every year. And these are the healing caves. And here's another healing cave. And as you can see, there's a little monorail running along the right side. And monorail is another one of my collecting topics. Now, at one time, here in the San Francisco Bay Area, we had our own healing caves and waters right nearby in Sonoma County, up near Cloverdale. Here's the radioactive steam caves at the Big Geysers in Sonoma County, 18 miles east of Cloverdale, California. Here's another view of it, and what the sign says is radioactive vapor caves. Before the white man came, these caves were used for the treatment of the sick by the Indians. The vapor escaping through fumaroles in the walls and floor is highly radioactive. To this fact is accredited their curative qualities in the treatment of arthritis, sinusitis, neuritis, asthma, and high blood pressure. For future history, ask at the office. And for those of you who don't remember your geography, a fumarole is a vent in the surface of the earth from which hot volcanic gases and vapors are emitted. And between 1848 and 1854, the geysers were developed into a spa named the Geysers Resort Hotel. In 1938, the main building was destroyed in a landslide, although the bar, restaurant, small cabins, and the swimming pool, here's the swimming pool, stayed open. There was another fire in 1957. The entire area was closed in 1979, and Unicol Corporation dismantled the remains of the resort in 1980. And I'm going to finish with, this is what the geysers looked like. And so that's the end of the program. And I just want to add that anyone who takes a radioactive bath in the future, please report the results to me.
That was great, Dan. We can always count on you to do a great job, and you did. I tell you, it's very interesting. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
If anybody wants to unmute themselves, the one thing I noticed, well, a couple of things actually, that I was thinking about all those people gathered around the fishing boat. It looked like they're on one of the slides that you showed. I figured they're probably looking at a three-eyed fish. That's just a guess. It's just a guess. The other thing I wanted to mention with radium, I'm really not very well educated on this subject, but I know that a certain amount of radioactive stuff is okay, but if you get too much of it, you have a real problem. Is that one of the reasons why so many of these places have shut down, or what's the story?
Well, I think it's, well, of course, a lot of them are old, so they were something was going to happen to them. They just probably just kind of fell apart. Old bathhouses, old spas. And like I say, well, so in the early part of the 20th century, bathhouses became real popular. And if you think about it, where else do you take a bath? We didn't have indoor plumbing.
True.
So go to a bathhouse. And the Curies discover radium. I'm sure it was well publicized. And some very enterprising entrepreneurs said, let's use radium and radon as part of our promotion. I mean, it's true, cancer patients, get treated with radiation. And there's a certain amount of radiation always around us. We're getting blasted with it from the sun. And parts of the country have more radon than we do. Out here in the West Coast, we don't really have a problem with radon, but the Midwest and the East, where people have basements, they sometimes have an issue with radon if you're getting it all the time.
Yes, I have a rental property in Michigan, and I recently purchased. During the inspection, I had to have a radon test done in the basement, and I had to have a radon mitigation done in order to reduce the amount of radon that was accumulated in the basement.
Yeah, same here in my house. I had to put radon multimeter. By the way, a banana is radioactive.
Really? Really? That's interesting.
If you have one of those radiation detector, you go through a banana. It's very low. Don't worry about it. But
Wow. The other question that I had, and you know, if you have anything going on, please unmute yourself and ask away. But I was going to ask you that one place in Georgia that you showed. It seems to me in my reading somewhere, I think, didn't President Roosevelt at the time when he was suffering from polio, I think he swam in that place quite a bit, didn't he?
That's a good question. Yeah, he was he had his little summer place down there. Actually more than just a little summer place. His little hideaway. So yeah, he could be. Yeah.
Anyway, I was curious about that. Anyway, I'll shut up. Please, if you have any comments or questions for Dan, please unmute yourself and have at it.
Yeah, I have two cards with a little bit of a connection. The first one is the therapeutic baths at the Hotel Biltmore in New York City. A little bit of a connection there. And the second card is actually a postcard from a motel in Radium Hot Springs, BC.
Hold it up a little bit, Kyle. Yeah. Hold it up. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other one.
Yeah.
It was quite fancy. The Hotel Biltmore in New York City.
So Dan, this is Lynn. I wanted to know how you found all those. They're not really a category in shows, but did you get most of them online somehow, or?
Well, no, this is here's my story. In the early 1990s, I remember going to a couple of the San Francisco postcard shows. They were held in the hotels down by the airport. And dealers would have, you know, boxes of 25-cent cards, 50-cent cards. And I found that's where I started finding cards related to the atomic age. You know, postcards of from Oak Ridge and Hanford, postcards of nuclear reactors, and postcards from radium baths. And so I just started looking for them. And I used to say I took it as with a lot of pride that I would ask dealers if they had any atomic related cards. And most of them gave me a look like they're ready to call hotel security. But eventually, several of them actually started having a topic in their boxes for atomic. And a couple dealers would send me cards on approval of anything they came across. So, and the collection just grew. And, you know, of course, eBay came along and, you know, did away with a lot of the shows. But you go on eBay and there's 50 million postcards, you might find something you want. Maybe even at a price you can afford.
That's fascinating, fascinating stuff. You know, one other thing I was thinking of while you're talking, you notice I might have noticed that I stood up there for a minute. That one postcard that you showed with the Volkswagen parked out in front of the place, I think I have that guy. I think I have that Volkswagen. This is my car. I've used this thing for years. It now belongs to my son, but the old blue Volkswagen served me well, and that might have been it. You never know.
Well, we'll have to see if we can't check the VIN on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I was more surprised with seeing the Renault Dauphine out there in wherever that was, Montana. I mean,
amazing that it made it.
Where do you get that car serviced?
Your postcards are just great, and we can always, thank God, count on you to get great stories too.
Okay, well, thank you.
I appreciate it.
I try to bring something to the postcard world other than just you know, Tux and Schmucker and Detroit and Mitchell.
Yeah. I know, Patrick, you had a comment.
Yeah, I've got so yeah, I have more covers for stamps and stuff,
Yeah.
but this is a recent cover that I got for the atomic. So this is when they did the atomic
Operation Crossroads in Bikini
yeah.
in 1946.
So
And
they've got a
yeah.
series of these covers that were on different ships. And I just happened to pick, I think I got this at Penpex.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of these covers. And this is on from the USS General A.E. Anderson. So I think they were on the ships, or I don't know what the deal was on with
Well,
these.
what they did is they brought a lot of ships left over from World War II, some German ships, American ships they didn't need anymore, and they anchored them there by the Bikini Atoll, and then they dropped 2 atomic bombs on them. One exploded in the air and one exploded in the water. And the purpose was it was the Navy wanting to show that ships could withstand a nuclear attack. And a few ships did sink, you know, but that was the actual purpose. You know, the branches of the military were all you know, arguing against each other. They all wanted nuclear power. And so this showed that the Navy could was still an important part, that it could withstand nuclear attack.
So how this cover, it was on the ship and survived, or I don't know what the
I think
story
they just
is.
issued a lot of souvenirs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were supposed to be out there, but yeah, there's a lot of different ones of these covers.
And then
So anyway,
yeah, they just sent the sailors onto the ships after the bombs to clean them up. No
Yeah.
protective gear, just go out there with your mops.
so but anyway, and Clarissa gave me an idea. Now I'm gonna put a bunch of bananas into a bathtub and take a radioactive bath with a bunch of bananas, and that will solve this. It'll be really good for my health.
Maybe make
Thank
a
you.
smoothie. Make a smoothie out of it.
Well, after all of that,
Well,
yeah.
Just bananas,
Carter
but-
lived to be 100, so maybe you could get close to that.
Maybe, yeah, that's what I'm gonna work
and
on.
then pour the banana water on your plants, because it's supposed to be good for them.
Oh yeah, that too. They'll glow at night. The
Yeah.
plant.
Sorry, Ron. Go ahead.
First, Patrick, that was kind of bananas what you said now, but
I can't hear you.
out of
sir.
showing you guys one postcard that we just added to our eBay store today.
Oh, yeah.
It's an advertisement for the Pioneer Club in Las Vegas, Nevada. And it says, atomic detonation shown was 75 miles distant from the Up and Atom City, Las Vegas. From around the early 50s,
Yeah,
probably.
that's right.
And you can see
Yep.
detonation from afar.
Great.
The Nevada test site, Mercury Flats, about 75 miles outside of Nevada, that you can tour. It's open to public tours. Go see how we spent billions of dollars testing nuclear bombs to see what they would do to a house or a refrigerator.
Great job, Dan.
Oh, thank you.
Great job.
Yeah,
Great
yeah,
job.
I have had a long time collecting atomic stuff.
I think what you guys were talking about a minute ago, that Bikini Atoll, those experiments, didn't they clean those ships, some of those at Hunters Point in San Francisco?
They might have.
I think they brought some of those ships to Hunters Point, and that's causing problems still today.
Oh, yeah, there is radioactive residue in Hunters Point,
Yeah.
as well as the barrels of radioactive waste rusting out by the Farallon Islands.
But is Hunters Point where they kept the reserve fleet? Is that correct?
No,
I'm
that-
not sure. I'm
Hunter's
not
point
sure.
is, yeah, it was just like Joe says, I think that was just
I think
maintenance.
it's just a cleaning area.
Yeah.
And I do subscribe to the San Francisco Bayview Time newspaper, black newspaper, and that's one of the issues that they discuss in there for the last 5 years because there's so much litigation going on because of all that, because of the high cancer rates in Hunters Point for generations. And they did do the cleaning of those ships there, wiping them down, and there's actual pictures of it and everything. I think they came from that testing from that ocean, but it's really causing a lot of problems today still.
Well, that's the downside to the atomic age. I always say it's some fascinating events if you overlook the downwinders, the GIs who had to do the work, civilians, things like
And
yeah,
the
things like
natives on the island, the
yeah,
natives on the island, the indigenous
yeah.
people.
Bikini
There's some,
Atoll is uninhabitable. Yeah, we told them they'll be able to return, and they'll never do that. But other than that, it's a fascinating topic.
It is.
Sorry,
Absolutely is.
yeah.
Now, somehow I've managed to lose myself on the screen here, and I don't know how to get it back, so I'm not going to mess with it. But Dan, unless anybody has anything else to add, I just want to thank you very much in behalf of the club, and I know that you always do a great job, and we appreciate it very much. So.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you. And when Los Angeles is gone, I'll show my postcards of what it used to look like.
Yeah, let's hope for the best down there. Those poor people are
Yeah.
really going through it. It's just awful from what I've seen. Anyway, thanks so much, folks, for being here. I appreciate it.